and welcome to the program. I am DEJI360. In a bid to reduce the amount of physical cash in circulation across the economy, the Central Bank of Nigeria last week imposed fresh cash withdrawal limits on individuals and organizations, which will become effective from January 9, 2023. Now, according to a memo issued by the CBN to banks, individuals will only be able to withdraw 100,000 naira per week from over-the-counter point-of-sale machines or automated teller machines, while organizations can access up to 500,000 naira per week. The memo signed by the CBN's Director of Banking Supervision, Haruna Mustafa, directed banks to load only 200 naira and lower denominations into their ATMs. This means Nigerians will only be able to withdraw 20,000 naira per day from ATMs when the directive becomes effective. Now, this new policy has elicited a lot of reactions from several quarters, especially mobile money operators in the country who think the policy will most likely kill their source of livelihood. But the CBN Governor, Godwin Emefiele, has insisted that there's no going back on the policy, especially as regards the timing, adding that the withdrawal limits can only be adjusted a little bit now, either by tweaking it now upward or downward. Let me also say that the National Assembly has actually waded into the matter as well. The Senate has actually has summoned the central bank governor and officials of the central bank now. They say they want to hear their own side of the story. And the House of Representatives, as a matter of fact, has asked the CBN now to suspend the policy altogether, at least for now. But then the CBN governor met with the president of the country, that's President Muhammadu Buhari. He met with him at the president's hometown of Daura over the week. And let's take a listen now to what the CBN told newsmen after emerging from that meeting with the president.
We believe that a lot of electronic channels have been put in place that would aid people in making banking, conducting banking and financial services transactions in Nigeria. We've heard about people talking about some of the people in our rural areas. And the truth is that even online banking, as I was coming out to Dara, I saw a kiosk that has super agents today. Because of the way we felt that there is a need for us to deepen payment system infrastructure, we have 1.4 million super agents that are in all over the country, different parts of the country, all local governments, all villages in this country. And we think that Nigeria, as a big country, the biggest economy in Africa, that we need to leapfrog into the cashless economy. We cannot continue to allow a situation where over 85% of the cash that is in circulation is outside the banks. More and more countries that are embracing digitization have gone into cashless. And I've said it at different forums that this is not targeted at anybody. It is just meant for the good and the development of the Nigerian economy. And we can only just continue to appeal to Nigerians to please see this policy the way we have presented it. We will be reviewing from time to time how this is working, because I cannot say that we are going to be rigid, but it is not to say that we will reverse. It is not to say that we will change timing, but whether it is about tweaking some amount to be a little bit higher or a little bit lower and all the rest of them, we will do so because we are humans. We want to make sure that we make life good for our people. We do not want to make life difficult for them. So there's no need for anybody to worry. The central bank is monitoring what is happening, and I can assure everyone that we are we are alive to our responsibilities, and we will do what is right for Nigeria and Nigerians.
Well, joining me now to analyze this further is economist and investment banker Johnson Chukwu, who is the CEO of Cowry Asset Management Limited, and an investment bank actually based in Lagos. Mr. Chukwu, thank you very much for joining us on the program. Listening to the CBN governor there, I mean, you get the impression that at some point there will be some kind of tweaking, just as he said, that there might be some kind of adjustments in terms of how much probably people are allowed to withdraw either over the counter or via their ATMs.
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me. Nothing is static, nothing is fixed. I believe any policymaker, any regulator will have to weigh the market reaction to their policies and then adjust the policies to be in tandem with the primary objective they intend to achieve without necessarily compromising for instance, financial system stability, and most importantly, the confidence of the public on the product or the service. So I want to agree with the central bank governor that said, look, they're going to tweak that policy. If you look at the cashless policy that came into place in 2012, about 10 years ago, that policy has been adjusted multiple times. At some point, they started with the rollout of a few states and a few localities. Subsequently, we've seen adjustment in the volume and maximum amount you can withdraw. As technologies are catching up or improving, then you may need to review whatever policies you have. So it's not strange that the central bank governor said they could adjust with respect to the volume, either move up slightly or move down slightly, but they're not adjusting at the time. And that, for me, is the most critical thing. The complaints, the concerns of the National Assembly members are largely on the timing, because some of the implications of this policy may not be in the interest of politically exposed persons.
Absolutely.
At this point in time when we are moving to an election season.
Now, tell me, if you were to suggest, because if you asked me, in my personal opinion, I think this is a very wonderful policy. If you ask me, the timing is actually right. I have no problem with the timing. Now, what kind of adjustments would you expect the CBN to make so that that adjustment it makes now does not even compromise the policy as a whole?
Okay, some of the adjustment I expect the CBN to make, I wouldn't say I expect them to make. I think they should prepare their mind to make if it becomes expedient, is with respect to rural areas. One, localities where there is no network coverage. So in that case, any of the electronic payment methods will have hitches being operated there. Secondly, with respect to rural areas where they are predominantly illiterate. Because one, if you are not lettered in any form at all, using electronic payment system, using other online payment system may be a bit difficult for you. So I expect that if really and truly in those localities, those very remote areas, you see volumes, they are volume that justify an adjustment, maybe they will do that. In the urban areas, I can tell you, DEJI, for free, that there's nobody who's doing legitimate business who goes to a bank to withdraw 5 million naira today. If you're withdrawing 5 million naira, you need to explain to me what you're doing with it. Who are you going to pay with that amount? If you are a contractor, you buy your building materials or whatever you need from electronic payment platforms. Virtually all merchants, all traders today receive payment electronically, and they get instant notification, and this goes to you. So there's no justification for anybody in an urban area where you have 3G or 4G network to complain that they can't use an online payment system. There are multiple online payment systems available to each and every one of us. So if there's any adjustment that will ever need to be made, probably in the very rural areas, but I don't think that the volume of business transaction in rural areas justify any adjustment. Hardly do you go to a very rural area that there's no network service and you see people who are selling goods. What single ticket goods of 100,000 naira is very rare. So I think we must recognize the opposition to this for what it is. And that is the fact that, look, it's coming an election period at the time when the politicians need to carry tons of cash to go and induce electorates and then get them to compromise their values and elect people who should not really have no business governing us.
And of course, let's just make it clear that the central bank governor has made it very clear that, look, this is not targeted at politicians, it's not targeted at anybody, but that this is just a policy that the country needs. Let's talk about the policy itself. How important is it for this country, speaking from the economic perspective now? Okay,
let me start from the benefit of what we've gotten from the cashless policy, and because this is an extension of the cashless policy. We've seen an improvement in financial inclusion as a result of the cashless policy. DEJI, if you cast your mind back to when we were both younger, and then when I started banking, the greatest challenge the banks had was the issue of cash management and cash processing. And the big banks had to set up a cash bank before you get a banking license. You have to subscribe to a big bank's cash processing that I said you process cash there. It was a huge cost. Banks had to staff the cash movement, cash management, bullion VAS, and what have you. And then there were cases of robbery If you also remember, armed robbers used to come to individual homes and yes, and compare people to, because they are coming there because they expect you have cash at home, particularly if you're a trader. Armed robbers used to waylay travelers on the highways and take money from them. Those things have become things of the past. Hardly do you ever hear that armed robbers came to people's home and they're asking you to bring cash, because they won't have cash. So one of the things cashless policy has done for us is that it has reduced to the barest minimum some level of violent crime. Of course, we have seen an evolution in another type of violent crime, which is kidnapping. This new policy will go a long way to address the issue of kidnapping. The simple is that if kidnappers cannot extort money from their victims through payment of ransom, because the victims family cannot access funding to that extent, kidnappers will not have any justification to continue kidnapping. And we're going to see that will also be a thing on the past, just like we talk of armed robbers coming to homes. Will be on the past. So you're going to see improvement in security situation or elimination of some level of violent crimes. Secondly, the policy will expand the financial inclusion strategy of the central bank. You're going to have more people who didn't have banking relationship go and have banking relationship. And that will help us improve on the effectiveness of monetary policies, because if you don't have a broad subscription to the banking system, it becomes easy to ensure that policies are transmitted through the banking financial system channels, unlike what we have here. If you have 60, 70, 80% of your currency in circulation and outside the banking system, it simply means whatever policy you do, you bring in, monetary policy you bring in to reduce the level of liquidity will not be effective, or increase the level of liquidity because we won't be effective, because those monies are already outside the banking system. So that's another factor. So the other factor which I had alluded to earlier is the issue of having a robust, effective, and reliable political system. If we keep compromising the electoral process because we have weaponized poverty, and then you can't give peanuts to people who are either illiterate or are so hungry, and you compromise them and make them vote in the direction they didn't plan to vote for, and you keep having wrong leadership in the country, then we will all continue to suffer abject poverty and underdevelopment. So if this policy will help in some way to minimize the capacity of politicians to compromise the electorate, it will be one of the great things that this government would have left as illegal.
No doubt at all. I mean, the Senate has actually summoned the CBN governor and officials of the central bank, and we had some lawmakers, when they debated this in the House of Representatives, talk very, very tough. And you know what the CBN Act says, and you know everything about the independence of the central bank and all of that. You think the Senate would have the powers to order the central bank to reverse this policy?
No, certainly they don't have the powers. The central bank has what they call policy autonomy when it comes to monetary policies, when it comes to currency and management. And this is under currency management of the central bank. Just like when the central bank governor came and announced the issue of redesign of the currency, and the National Assembly objected to it. Eventually, they pulled back and had to accept it, because they all, I guess, at some point they realized that it is within the mandate of the central bank to manage the currency. And similarly, like I said, this policy is in relation to currency management. And there's no way the National Assembly can get the CBN governor to change it unless he intends to change that policy. And the central bank, the CBN governor has obviously gotten the full backing of the president, in as much as he has policy autonomy with the federal government backing, I mean the executive arm backing. It will be difficult for anybody to push the central bank back on this policy. But I clearly understand the agitation of National Assembly members. This will certainly work. It's not one of the things they have in their toolbox. They obviously, none of them expected that they will be constrained, because with the change in currency, they have to either, many people who have kept money at homes, we have to return those monies, and now they can't withdraw it again. So tell me how they're going to prosecute their elections. And I think that's clearly why you saw that vial coming from them.
But generally, how does this help fight inflation in the country?
Well, interesting.
It has probably strengthen the naira.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the inflation fight. You know, the truth is that we must recognize that, look, the volume of transaction that is done through cash or by way of check is very minimal. More than 80% of the current transaction volumes are done by electronic payments. So in effect, the electronic payment is the dominant. The most important thing is it is not the payment method that influences inflation. What determines inflation is the level of money in circulation, particularly money that is not backed up by productive activities or productive goods and services. The challenge we have today is that we have about 6.3 trillion naira that has been advanced to the federal government by ways and means from the central bank in the first 10 months of this year that's not backed by any productive activities. That's what we call liquidity suffix. That's excess liquidity, and that's what driving the inflation. We have other factors. The pass-through effect of the depreciation of the local currency, because currency has seen depreciation maybe from 500, maybe from 600 to about 750 or 760. That impact of that is that if you used to import a unit of a product for 5, now you have to import the same unit of product for 750 naira equivalent. So you certainly have to price that about 750 naira plus your margin. So that's one fact. A second fact. Then the issue of food production, because we have had displacement of farmers in the major farming belts of the country.
Security and then the flooding.
Yes, we've seen food production decline vis-a-vis the demand for food, and that has led to an uptick in food prices. And then finally, the war in Ukraine and Russia that has elevated the price, of created supply bottlenecks, and also increased the price of refined petroleum products. So those are the factors that drove inflation and driving inflation in the country. It's not the issue of cash in circulation.
All right, Johnson Chukwu, thank you very much for your time, sir. Thanks a lot for coming on the program.
My pleasure.
We'll take a short break now. We'll be right back. Stay with us, don't go away.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has fixed Monday, 12th December 2022 to Sunday, 22nd January 2023 as the dates for the collection of PVCs nationwide from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily, including Saturdays and Sundays. All registrants who are yet to collect their PVCs or requested for transfer of registration, as well as those who applied for replacement of lost or damaged PVCs, can now visit INEC local government offices where they intend to vote to collect their PVCs. Collection of PVCs will be further extended to ward level for those who are unable to collect theirs at local government offices from Friday 6th to Sunday 15th January 2023. Thereafter, the exercise will be reverted to the local government offices of the INEC until Sunday 22nd January 2023. Remember, only those with PVC can vote on election day. Collect your PVC now to vote. It is your duty. This message is brought to you by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, making your votes count, consolidating our democracy.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places, the Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On DEJI360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
DEJI360, dissecting the issues.